Okay, hello everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. This is Megan over in UNH. Go ahead.
And I'm Jen Andrews, also from UNH.
So thank you so much for joining us here to talk about the Sustainability Fellows program and the application process. We have just a few of you who have joined so far, but we're also, go ahead and tell your friends, we're going to post this afterwards, so plenty of people will be able to view it afterwards. So we thought what we'd do is just give you kind of a general overview of the program itself, and talk a little bit about the details of the application process. And then at the end, we'll open it up for questions and answers. So for right now, we would love it if you would mute yourselves and keep your videos off, just because it helps to keep the webinar going. Sometimes it can slow down if everybody's got their sound and their video on. And then at the end, you'll see a little chat button down below, and you can type your questions to us and we will answer them. And if you have any trouble in the meantime, you can send us a chat to say, like, if you can't hear us or something, feel free to do that, because we don't want to be talking if nobody can hear us. So with that, we will just dive right in. Maybe, or maybe not. Mm-hmm. There we are. So I'm Megan. I'm the coordinator of the Fellows program here at the Sustainability Institute at UNH. And I've been doing this for almost exactly 1 year now. So I have seen every part of this program exactly one time. And it has been a fun year. And I have to say my favorite part of the year is definitely when all of the fellows are here together in one room. But my second favorite part of the year is this time right now, is hearing from all of these students all over the country and the world, in fact, with really diverse stories, but all with an interest and a passion for sustainability and for making an impact. So thank you for your interest in doing this, because it's inspiring to me. And thank you for connecting with us today. And I am here with Jen Andrews, who is the director of the program and the director of several other programs here at UNH, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Thanks, Megan. Good afternoon, everyone. As Megan said, I'm Jen. I am a program director here at the UNH Sustainability Institute, where I've been for 5 years now. And the Fellows program actually has been, we're going into our 11th year. It started at a nonprofit called Cleaner Cool Planet, where I worked before coming to UNH for 13 years. On solutions to climate change, working with partners on college campuses across the country, in local governments across the country, and with businesses. So I've now had a longer time than it feels like it should have been, working in this field of sustainability and climate and energy solutions, and it's been so exciting and wonderful to see it build and grow over time. When we started the program, as I said, we're going into our 11th summer. So our first year was 2008. And from the beginning, our goals, we had sort of two primary goals and I'd say a long-term vision. So the thinking in terms of like goals for the fellowships were first to provide kind of springboard experiences from school and studies, from education to quote unquote real life, to help students transition from sort of the theoretical to the practical and the workplace, to get some great hands-on experience, and the kind of experience that you just can't get purely from studying, even in like the best, most awesome, academic program in the world. Sometimes you just have to kind of get in and get your hands dirty, to really sort of see what you like and what you're good at and what's possible. And so we wanted to provide those sorts of experiences. And at the same time, we wanted to get good work done, because was then and is now so much work to do in this field, so many problems and challenges to be addressed, and so much talent and energy and expertise out there that we felt, and I still feel, is often untapped. And so this is a way to sort of tap your talent and energy to really kind of further outcomes that are important with businesses and local governments and communities, and at the same time, hopefully really sort of start people on a path. So those were the two goals and still are for the summer. And then the sort of long-term vision, which we're beginning to see come to fruition, was to build the field of sustainability broadly, to create a strong network that would learn and grow and advance together and support one another, share work resources, share learning, and stay connected through time. And we've seen that. We have now over 120 alumni of this program, fellows who have gone through the program, and dozens and dozens of mentors with whom those fellows have been placed, who've also stayed part of the network. The map here, you can kind of see the sectors that fellows are in. It's, a mixture of public and private sectors. We have municipal sustainability coordinators and campus sustainability coordinators and energy consultants and policy analysts and educators and communicators and just such a wide range of alumni in the network who, as I said, continue to be in touch with us, to support each other. We hear all the time of alumni connecting each other with jobs, connecting each other with other people in their fields, with great resources and ideas. And so it's just an exciting and evolving space and a great group of people. And so we're excited to invite you all to apply to be part of that network moving forward. So hopefully that gives you a sense of why to apply, sort of big picture, long term. In terms of what you're going to be doing this summer, I would say it's an opportunity, first of all, for you to contribute. We pick projects, we pick work that we don't think is going to get done otherwise. We pick things that need to be done. It's not purely for the sake of a learning experience. And so the 21 projects that are going to happen this summer are going to make a significant difference and are going to be the foundation for work that continues to move forward. Every year we hear that the work that our fellows have done has a sort of real-time impact and then a lasting impact it gets built upon. And so it's an opportunity to do that. And also, of course, to learn skills, learn about your field and resources in your field, learn about new places and cultures maybe. And so it's a huge learning opportunity, of course, to build your professional network with other fellows who will be in the program with you this summer, with fellows who've been in the program in the past, with mentors, with us at the University of New Hampshire. It's a great network. Obviously, it's a good resume builder, and last but definitely not least, get paid. Always a good thing. And we make a point of having a competitive stipend to make this an opportunity that is available to as many people as possible. I want to take a couple of minutes before we transition to talking about the how to apply to emphasize that this is not necessarily your typical in air quotes maybe internship. It's not, as I said, purely about just straight up work experience or exposing our fellows to particular work environments. But we select projects that offer problems that need to be solved and that we don't necessarily know the answers to, and the project mentors don't necessarily know the answers to. And so that means a higher level of autonomy and responsibility. It means we expect initiative and creativity and a willingness to participate really consistently and to lead and maybe even to struggle a little because sustainability is a field where you have to be willing to sort of wrestle and struggle a little together to kind of arrive at new creative outcomes. And because it is that kind of an experience, we make a point of providing a really lot of support and tools for our fellows so that they're not struggling alone or wrestling with these questions alone, but so again, we're all learning together, and so that you'll have the tools you need to be successful. So one of those tools is your cohort of other fellows who are working in different locations and with different organizations, but the projects are all very related. And every year we see that we have fellows who have expertise and resources and networks relevant to their peers and colleagues' projects as well. So there's a lot of support there. We provide a lot of mentorship here at the Sustainability Institute, and we expect our host organizations to do the same, and they do. We have amazing partners and host organizations. We offer consistent educational and professional development opportunities, access to webinars and workshops and that sort of thing, training. You'll hear more about what we do at orientation and so forth. And of course, access to this broader network of sustainability professionals that we've built up through the years as part of the program. So it's a little bit deeper maybe than some internships you'd had in the past. It's pretty meaty, and I don't know, I'm not objective, but I think it's pretty cool too. I'm going to turn it over to Megan now to give you the details on the how to apply and how to move through the application process successfully.
Okay, thanks, Jen. So as is probably obvious, Jen is like the vision of this program, and I deal with the nitty-gritty details every day. So I'll be the person you call when things aren't working or you can't figure out what's going on. So I'm going to talk to you more about what are the actual projects that we're offering this summer and how to apply for those projects. So this year, as hopefully you've all reviewed the projects that are available, there are 21 fellowships that we're looking to fill this summer. And this originally started out as a climate fellows program, so you'll see that a lot of our projects are still very climate focused. But when the program came over to UNH, it became more broadly a sustainability fellows program. So there are definitely other aspects of sustainability that we're kind of bringing into the program. So this year we have 3 projects doing greenhouse gas inventories in municipalities. And I don't think Jen mentioned this, but we have a partnership with the New England Municipal Sustainability Network, which is a group of sustainability professionals in cities and towns throughout New England. And so 7 or 8 of our projects this year are with those communities. And so those fellows will work together as they did last year, doing similar projects in different communities. So there will be 3 greenhouse gas inventories. We did 4 of them last year, so this is kind of a continuation of work that was done last year, which is kind of nice. So you'll have last year's fellows to rely on as resources and to build on their work. We also have another 5 projects kind of looking at the next step in climate planning for some of these cities. So the first thing they do is look at what are our emissions, can we quantify them, and then how do we go about figuring out how we can reduce them with renewable energy, energy efficiency, transportation planning. So we have 5 projects kind of in that area. We have 4 projects in climate change resilience. Some of those are focused on ecosystems, others are focused on communities. One is actually on right here at UNH. We have 3 projects focused on food security and public health. 3 more projects looking at promoting sustainable behavior. So how do we get people to make sustainable choices? And finally, we have 3 more projects looking at how do we find the funding, how do we market these sustainability initiatives so we can get them moving forward. You'll find that many of the projects here actually could fit into a few of these categories, and that's kind of the point. They're all related in some way. But one of the things that we did last year, and we're going to try to do more of this year, is make sure each fellow has kind of a mini cohort of other fellows working on related projects to rely on for support and to share resources. So these may be reshaped between now and the summer, but the general idea is that the projects are somewhat in groups with related themes. So you'll have other fellows doing projects that are related to yours. So those are the 21 projects we have this summer. They're spread throughout New England. Another thing we're trying to do is make sure that there are at least a couple of you in every location. So in addition to having fellows working on projects that are related to yours by theme, you'll also have fellows that are located fairly close by. So they might be doing something completely different, but they're in the same city as you. So that kind of provides you some support and resources in different ways. So we've got a couple projects in Burlington, a couple in Portland, a couple in central New Hampshire, a couple in southern New England, a few in the Boston area, and then 10 or so here in the Seacoast, New Hampshire area. So half of those are right here at UNH, and the other half are, kind of in the area surrounding UNH. So when you're thinking about which project you might be interested in working on, there are a handful of different ways to look at this. The first and obvious are these two, like what is the topic area, and is that something that is appealing and interesting to you? And where is the project located? Is that somewhere you would like to live? So those are pretty obvious. Beyond that, beyond just looking at the topic of a project, you should really think about what is the type of work that is required to accomplish this project. So is it scientific research? Is it something that's more outreach oriented? So if you really love talking to people, I would not recommend applying for a purely data analysis position where you'll be sitting in front of a computer mostly by yourself for 40 hours a week. And vice versa, if talking to people all day exhausts you, data analysis might be the right thing for you. But really beyond the general topic area of the project, you should think about what are you going to actually do on a day-to-day basis, and is that appealing to you? You might have particular goals in terms of skills you want to gain or something you want to learn this summer. So think about whether or not each one of these fellowships would allow you to acquire those skills. A lot of people participate in this program because they really want to get experience in a certain type of organization, like municipal government or nonprofit. So think about that as well. As I already mentioned, think about where these are located. Living in Boston is definitely an urban experience. Living in Durham, I can tell you personally, is not. So think about maybe you've lived in a city all your life and you want to try out something like Durham, and that's fine. That's a good time to do it because it's only 10 weeks, right? Think about whether or not it's really important to you to have sort of that cohort of fellows nearby. Like I mentioned, there will be about half of the fellows will be here near UNH, and the other half will be scattered throughout New England. Practical concerns, like I will tell you, it costs a lot more to live in Boston. But the flip side of that is that public transportation is very available in Boston. And so it might be the opposite in some of these other places, might be less expensive to live, but public transportation may be a lot more difficult. So just practical things to think about. And the last one I would say is very important, and please try not to overlook this one. Do you have the background to do the job? So some of these might look really appealing and exciting, and you learn a lot, but if you don't have the background that's necessary to actually get the job done, your chances are going to be a lot better if you apply for one that is a better fit for your background. So personally, I would love to do all 21 of these projects, but I can tell you there are several of them there that I am not at all qualified to do, and I wouldn't apply to do those. So just think about all of these things, and we're asking you to limit your choices to 3 projects, and that's for a few different reasons. First, we can't look at each one of your applications relative to 21 different sets of criteria because it's just not physically possible. And the second is that we really want you to think hard about what you want to do and whether or not it's a good match for your background. We're going to ask you to write a letter explaining to us why you think it's a good fit for the project that you're going to apply for. So realistically, you can't do that 21 times. And I can't imagine that, maybe there's some superstars out there, but I can't imagine that any of you could write a really great letter saying you're a perfect match for all 21 of these different projects. So you're going to try to narrow it down to 3, but you don't have to apply to 3. 1 is fine. If there's one that you're really excited about and it's right for you, certainly just apply for that one. So a few details about how the program works. So we start out here at UNH for orientation from May 29th to 31st. So we have 3 days of orientation where we bring you all here together, which mostly really is to give you guys a chance to get to know each other and to get to know us, because you will spend the bulk of the summer working with your host organization, which may be, up to a few hours away from here. So we won't see you on a daily basis, and we want to give you all a chance to get to know each other right at the beginning of the summer, in person here for a few days. So when you do go off to your various locations, you still have this, cohort of 21 fellows that you remain connected to throughout the summer, but you've already gotten to know them and you know who everybody is. We also bring your mentors here for part of orientation. So you'll spend about a half a day with your mentors, and this gives you a chance to sit down and talk in detail with your mentor about your project. So you're kind of prepared on day one, knowing where you're gonna start off when you get to your project location. We also do some training during orientation, some professional development opportunities, and then we do also try to throw in some time just to have fun, get to know each other. We eat a lot and hang out, and it's an intense 3 days, but it's also a good time. So everybody leaves here hugging and they're happy. So so that's orientation. And then on June 4th is when when the fellowship term starts. It's actually an 11-week fellowship period. We ask you to work for 10 weeks. So that gives you a week of leeway to use for vacation, or if you are going back to school in the fall and you need to be there before August 17th, which is the end of the fellowship term, you do have that 1 week of leeway. So it's a 10-week fellowship that happens over an 11-week period. It's full-time. We offer a lot of programming throughout the summer to keep you all connected with us and connected with each other. One of the things that we do is a weekly webinar. We also will ask you to, get together with the fellows that are in your local area. So there's something happening every week. We ask you to, post updates on your fellowship that you can share with the rest of the fellows. So there's all this is going on every week throughout the 10 weeks of your fellowship. And there are 2 more events where we ask you to come back to Durham. We do a midterm presentation, and this is a time for you to, tell us where you're at, how things are going, and also to get feedback from the other fellows in the program, from the other mentors in the program. So this is a really good time to, just talk to people about what you're doing, to people outside of the organization where you work on a daily basis. And this still gives you time to, kind of go back and take all of that feedback into account for the rest of your projects for the next 5 or 6 weeks. We'll do a little bit of training while you're here during the midterm presentations as well. And then we bring everybody back for final presentations at the end of the summer. We don't do this during the very last week because some people do need to take off that last week. So we do it during week number 10. So we bring everybody back and give you a chance to kind of show off what you did during your fellowship and to learn about what everybody else did. And fellows in the past have said this is, kind of one of the more powerful moments of the summer because they get real exposure to what everybody else has done, which they learned from. And a lot of people have come in and said, they were really psyched about their project and it turned out not to be what they want to do with the rest of their life, but by listening to all those other presentations, they're really inspired about, taking a new direction. So it's definitely worth getting people back here in person. So orientation and the midterm and final presentations are required parts of the program. So if you're, abroad or something and you won't be back in time for this, this may not be the year for you to apply to the program. And that's because we find those kind of in-person connections to be really important part of the program. So hopefully you can all be available for these dates, but you know them now. So put them in your calendars now because they're a required part of the program, as is the full fellowship term, 10 of the 11 weeks of the fellowship term. So a little bit of nitty gritty because people always have questions about this. So I'll just tell you the details now. And if you have further questions, then you can ask. So remember that you do get a $6,000 stipend, and that is intended to help you cover your own housing and living expenses during the term of the fellowship. That's your paycheck, and you pay for find your own apartment and handle your own living expenses. We also ask that you get yourself here to Durham for orientation and then get yourself to your project location by June 4th. and back to your home or school at the end of the summer. We do have a limited amount of travel support that will be available for people coming in from afar. So if you're in California or Washington or something, and getting here to begin with would be a deal breaker for you, we do have some support available for that. And we'll provide more detail on that, when we do the fellowship awards in a month or two. What we provide on the UNH side is we cover your housing and your meals when you are here for a program event in Durham. So during orientation, midterm presentations, final presentations, we'll take care of all those expenses. For those fellows who are already living in the Durham area, we're probably not going to pay for a hotel for you to stay in a hotel in Durham. But for everybody who needs to travel here, that will be covered. And we will also cover travel between your project location and Durham for those program events that happen within the summer. We also try to help you get connected with all the other fellows leading up to the summer, so that you can connect with the people living in your area, share resources about housing, talk about carpools, whatever is helpful to you. The mentors can also be a great resource in terms of resources, local resources in the locations where they are, because we can help a little bit with the Durham area, but I don't know a lot about housing in Burlington or in Connecticut. So the people who actually live in those areas can help you out with the details of that, and public transportation as well. So the application process, as hopefully you know by now, applications are due on February 14th at midnight, our time. So we've still got a couple weeks here, so you have plenty of time to work on your applications and ask us any more questions you might have. We'll accept applications from undergraduate students, graduate students, and recent or soon-to-be graduates are welcome to apply as well. I will say if you are a freshman or a sophomore, you might be better off waiting a year or two, just because you probably will be competing with graduate students to get these fellowships. So generally upper class undergrads and graduate students from any college or university and any program of study. So there are no requirements on the program side about what you're studying in college, but there may be for the particular projects that you're looking at. So make sure you read the details of the actual project you want to apply to. So as I said, you can choose up to 3 projects, and we ask that you write a cover letter detailing why you think that project is a great match for you. Of course, it's great to show enthusiasm and interest in a subject area, but also make sure you spend some time telling us why your background is a good fit for this project. So not only why you want to tackle this project, but why you think you will be a good candidate to do so. We ask for a 2-page writing sample, or less, doesn't have to be 2 pages. And this is just to give us an idea of how you communicate. So the subject area of your writing sample is really not important at all. I would select a writing sample that you feel is kind of in line with the tone of the project that you're applying for. So if you're applying for a scientific research project, send us a couple pages of a recent research paper. If you're applying for one that's kind of outreach oriented, if you have something that you've written that's more geared toward, a public audience, then that would be a better choice. So really the subject area is not critical. It's kind of the tone of the writing that should help you make your selection. Some really nitty-gritty details about how to put together your application. So down in the second bullet, you're going to have your cover letter. If you're applying for more than one project, you will have more than one cover letter. You should have one for each. You're going to have a resume, 3 references with their contact information, and a writing sample. So we'd like you to put all of that together into one document. And to make things easier and more importantly, to make sure that your application gets routed properly, we would really like you to actually name your application file according to this format, which is your last name, your first name, and then a project keyword. And that's how we can make sure that your application gets reviewed for the appropriate projects. So you'll see once you get into the application, there's a list of the projects right in the application, this is where you'll check off which projects you're applying for. And there's also a keyword right here at the end. And so you're going to put the keyword or keywords for the projects you're applying for right in the file name of your application. And this, like I said, will just make sure that you get your application is considered for the correct projects.
And Megan, if they're doing more than one, it would be the keyword underscore the second project keyword underscore.
Exactly. Yep. So the second line here, you'll have last name, first name, project 1, project 2, up to project 3, and then you should stop there.
And one other just small clarification, the references, we're not asking for letters of reference. We're just asking for, you know, a name of a person, their title, how you know them, what they can speak to. So it's not, you don't actually have to have letters of reference from those people.
Right. But there are people who we may call during the review process, so you should generally let them know that you've put their name on your application. So important dates. We've gone over most of these, but applications are due February 14th. We'll be conducting interviews throughout the month of March. The way the interviews work is that we'll do them online, kind of like this, kind of like webinar style. And it will be somebody from our office along with the mentor from the host location and the candidate, and we'll all have a conversation together. And so we'll be doing that throughout the month of March. We're hoping to have all of our offers out by early April. Sometimes things get delayed, so if you haven't heard from me on April 6th, don't panic. Just give us a few more days. As you can imagine, arranging interviews and stuff with 21 different mentors can be a little bit challenging. So sometimes there's a delay, but our goal is April 6th. Orientation, again, is at the end of May here in Durham, and the fellowship term is June 4th to August 17th with midterms and finals during that period. And I think that is all the information I have to spit at you. So now we would be glad to answer any questions you have. I'd love to answer kind of general program questions first and have you save your questions that you may have about specific projects until later at the end. So, you know, if people have all their questions answered already, they can kind of peel off as is applicable. So with that, if you have a question, please go ahead and find your chat button, which probably, if your setup looks like mine does, will be at the bottom of your screen. And feel free to send us a question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. While people are thinking about their questions, I'll just say too, hopefully this is stating the really obvious, but on the video interviews, we would plan to actually use the video feature for those. So, you know, treat it like a quote unquote real in-person interview and dress appropriately, et cetera, et cetera.
No jammies.
Right.
I think, hold on, somebody was raising their hand. I mean, since there aren't very many of you, we can go ahead and
just unmute everybody.
Yeah, or I'll unmute you one at a time. So maybe. Rashika, if you have a question, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, you can just ask it out loud if you don't want to send it via chat. Okay, while she's figuring that out, we also have another question here asking how many applicants we get per year. And it varies a lot, but anywhere from 100 to 400 applications. So, you know, there will definitely be several applications for each project. Okay, now we've got Rashika's question. Oh, can international students apply if they're eligible to work? Yes, generally, and we usually have a few international students each year. If you are an international student and you're selected for a fellowship, I'll put you in contact with the International Scholars Office here at UNH, and they can talk to you about the details of visas and whatever documentation you need. But certainly, yes, international students are welcome to apply. And we have another question. When applying for more than one project, can you submit 2 writing samples if you feel different tones are appropriate? I would say yes. Yeah. Maybe put a note at the top of each one indicating which one you feel is more appropriate for which project. But yeah, yep.
Good idea.
I think we got all of the ones that were typed so far. Any more questions? Do you have anything, Jen, that you want to add that I might have glazed over?
I can't think of anything. I would say if you, as you're going through this now or later even, if you have specific questions about projects, don't hesitate to ask them. They're substantive and complex, and it would be appropriate to have questions about them. So, and the same goes, for those of you who are selected for interviews, just like a word to the wise, generally speaking about interviews, and certainly for these ones, the more you can come prepared with questions about the specific projects and the work, the more useful the interview is going to be for you and for us in terms of getting a feel for whether or not it's a good fit. So plan to do your homework in that respect.
And with that, just in case it's not clear, since we seem to have answered a lot of the questions generally about the program, if people now have questions about specific projects, you can feel free to throw those in as well. We have one question asking if help will be provided finding housing. And the help that we can offer you is just resources. We can't find housing for you because you've got to find the right thing for you. But to be totally honest, what fellows have found in the past few years, that the best resource is honestly Craigslist. So I know I'm not really offering you anything new and exciting, but most of our fellows have found their housing through Craigslist. What we will do is put you in touch with the other fellows in your cohort, so you guys can be working together, possibly think about sharing housing, and at the very least sharing resources. But we do not go out and secure housing for you.
For the folks around here, if you have questions about, I'm looking at this place on Craigslist or this place on Craigslist, you could send it to us. We might be able to answer it, or we might be able to put it out to others who could answer it in terms of just like generally speaking the area.
And the
same thing is true for mentors.
Yeah, the mentors will help with that. If you're not in the Durham area, your mentors should be able to help you.
I would we've never had someone not be able to find housing, and it's pretty rare that folks have found housing and felt like it wasn't ideal. You know what I mean? Like, generally speaking, it ends up being like a question or a stressor at the beginning, or you think it's going to be harder than it is, I guess is my point. Usually it's pretty doable. There's a lot of sublets in the summer in most of these areas. We're talking about like places where, like the Durham area, there's a lot of sublets because you have students leaving. Same thing is true in Burlington, to a lesser degree in Portland, certainly in Boston. So, yeah.
So we have one person asking about in-depth descriptions for each project and where the projects are located. So you should be able to find that on the website, which I will just go ahead and pull up. I'm going to stop my share for a second. I'll be right back with you.
Actually, maybe you could just share now so they can see the navigation. Yeah.
Okay, so here we are on the website. Here's the main Sustainability Fellowships page. And if you click on this Apply Now, you'll come to this page where there's a bunch of information about how to apply. And one of the links here is learn about the 2018 Sustainability Fellowships. So if you click on that, you come to a list of the 21 fellowships. And for each of those, it'll give you the kind of general theme of the project and where it's located, and then a link to a detailed position description. And this is where you'll see all the detail about the project, the goals of the project are, and the deliverables, as well as the qualifications that we're looking for each one of those fellowships. So hopefully that answered that question. I've lost my chat window, so hold on a second. Come back, chat. Okay, there we are. Yeah, so hopefully that answered your question. Stop that. Are there any other questions? All right, I think it looks like we've likely answered all of your burning questions for now. But you all have my email address now, since I emailed you this morning, sending you the link for this. So when further questions come up, please feel free to contact me via email. We're glad to answer your questions just about how the program works, about how to deal with the application process, or the specific projects. And if we can't answer your questions about the specific projects, we'll get in touch with the mentors and get you an answer one way or another. So with that, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and thanks for your interest in a sustainability fellowship, and we're really looking forward to your applications.
Have a good afternoon, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.